Well, we have a great program for you today. I hope you are excited. First, I would like to thank Ellen Lewis and Joe Smith as co-chairs of the Programs Committee and the committee members who put this event together for us. Thank you very much. Great job. So let's get into it. Please, Ellen.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming. I know it's hard for a lot of people between the snow and the flu and travel and all that, so thank you very much. I heard a lot of stories. Anyway, I wanted to introduce you tonight to Cindy Morgan Petro, who's the senior retail editor at WGSN. She's got a really interesting presentation for us, and can I just say one buzzword after I saw it? Have an experience. I hope you have an experience tonight, right? Right. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. So I have a really kind of fun, light topic to talk to you guys about. It's just called the retail apocalypse. No big deal. I promise it won't be that dismal. And then we're also going to tie in shifting consumer demands and talk about how those two things kind of work together. So you'll notice that I titled this the Retail Apocalypse ? Not period. And that's because, as everybody well knows, over the past year, it's been a bit exaggerated in the media. So we kind of want to take a look at, what's really going on with this so-called apocalypse. So first off, why are retailers scared? Okay, so we have to acknowledge that 2017 was a really terrifying year for retail. That is absolutely true. And just quickly, a couple of things that did happen. Unfortunately, we had over 3,000 specialty apparel retail storefronts close in 2017. And of those, 50% are attributed to just 16 major apparel companies. So we lost a lot of stores from some of our heavy hitters in the industry, which is also really scary. And then lastly, a little bit unrelated, but something that's feeding into this kind of apocalyptic field, is that consumers are increasingly shifting their spend from goods to goods to experiences. So this is another thing that's making retailers a little bit nervous. People aren't actually spending as much on products. So what's the good news? Because I'm not here to dwell on all that. So the good news is that in 2017, over the course of that year, retailers actually opened over 1,300 more locations than they closed. So this is something that the press didn't really talk as much about, maybe because they like to instill fear, I'm not sure. And 42% of retailers actually added stores, while only 15% have gotten smaller. So it was that 15% that really got the noise and the attention, but it was much less of a percentage. And then the last point I kept worded exactly the same way for a reason, because consumers spending their money on experiences over goods doesn't have to be a negative thing. We can see this as an opportunity. And I'm going to highlight some innovative retailers in a moment that are really embracing this shift. So the point that I want to drive home is that we're not really experiencing an apocalypse, we're experiencing a transformation in retail. So how Americans shop is changing, but physical stores will never really go away, right? So humans crave community and marketplaces offer that. It's kind of a basic human need. So let's take a look at how retail is actually transforming. So I'm going to break this part down into 3 areas. The first of which is our shifting business model. So we're seeing a lot of traditional retailers that traditionally only sell product moving into services. I'm also going to talk about right sizing. So people balancing their operations. So all of those store closures might not necessarily be a bad thing in the long run. And then the last one, experiences, as Ellen was saying, experiential. That's a word you're going to hear me say a lot. So we're seeing people partner with new channels to provide those experiences for their consumers, and that's a big focus. So we no longer operate in a straight transactional market. So that's kind of the single biggest idea right now in retail innovation at the moment. We can't really think in terms of traditional transactions any longer. So you might be buying an experience instead. So we're increasingly seeing brands expand their offerings. They're offering subscription services, aftercare, things like that. So two great case studies here. DSW is doing a lot of innovative stuff. This is their Savvy Shoe Lovers. That's one of their campaigns recently. So they're doing things like offering shoe storage. They're doing shoe rentals, which sounds a little, funny at first. But then again, people thought Airbnb years ago, I would never let a stranger sleep in my bed when I'm not home. And now people are very comfortable with that. So you never know. They're offering repair services for their shoes, and they're offering in select locations mani-pedi shops, which I think is really smart, because they're thinking of what could complement a shoe purchase, right? And a pedicure and shoes absolutely goes hand in hand, and yet you don't really see that on offer much. So another example is Rent the Runway, this image here on the right. So this past fall, they shifted up their business model to offer a little bit more of an everyday experience. So in the past, people would maybe do Rent the Runway once or twice for an occasion. But now they're doing a monthly subscription service where you can pay $89 a month and you get a rotating selection of outfits. And it's kind of a lower price point. It's not this super high luxury. It's things that you wear actually every day. So they went from being in a consumer's life, maybe once or twice a year, to being with them every day. So it's definitely an interesting switch. This is really just the tip of the iceberg, though. So we have a couple of research people on our team. They're numbers girls. And they pulled this from a Forrester research survey that 62% of millennials and 57% of teenagers wish that more brands offered ways to rent or borrow items. So we're seeing a lot more people tap into this share economy, and I like that these companies are both trying something new and innovative, and it's a little bit too soon to see the results, but the ones that are innovating right now, I think are the ones that are going to win in the long run. So aftercare and experiences in store fits into this theme as well. So luxury handbags offering mending and repair services isn't really that new, right? This is something that they've always been doing. But what is new is incorporating that workshop feel, an actual workshop, right into the sales floor of your store. So we have Coach over here on the right. This is from their New York store that they opened not too long ago. And it's front and center. They let you know that they're all about craftsmanship. They're really trying to convey to the consumers that the product lasts. So we're in this fast fashion climate, and people are really starting to yearn for something with value that is durable and well made. So I really think that brands that emphasize the lasting quality of their goods with services like these are likely to achieve a higher perception of value from the consumer and ultimately a bigger dollar spend, which is what we all want. On the left here, we have this in-store laundry service. I don't know if anyone's seen this. This is in the American Eagle concept store in Union Square, opened a couple months ago. So it's a fully functional laundromat inside the American Eagle store, and it's offered to college students completely free as long as you have your college ID. In addition to the laundry service, they have a charging station for your phone, they have a lounge, they have a coffee kiosk, there's a DJ sometimes. So they're really trying to facilitate this environment where people want to come and just chill and relax and hang out and hopefully shop. So how does this work in the lingerie world? The emphasis on services really translates into fittings. So, we see brands trying to look for new ways, because this isn't a new offer for a lingerie company. They've been doing this forever. But we're seeing brands look at new ways to encourage fittings in-store as well as educate consumers online. So I love this image right here. This is from the great Eros' Instagram. It's just such a clear visual of why you might need to come in and get a new fitting. And it's incorporating, this new visual way in which people shop. People are shopping on Instagram. They're just flipping through their feed. If an image catches their eye, then they're going to stop on it. So I thought that, it's very artistic. It's just kind of a new approach. And then there's the online retailer Third Love, who've kind of taken this direct-to-consumer model into the lingerie space, specifically targeting fit problems with bras. So they offer half sizes. They have an online fit finder, and this is part of that from their e-commerce site. And they even have a breast shape dictionary, which seems kind of overkill, but at least it's in the spirit of education and of service to the consumer. We're also seeing retailers experiment with services-only spaces. So this is Nordstrom's latest store. It's in Los Angeles. It's called Nordstrom Local. It opened this past fall. It has personal stylists. You can get a mani-pedi. You can drop off your returns there. You can go to the tailor. They have plenty of wine, but they don't sell any merchandise. There is no merchandise for sale there. So this is kind of a more extreme example, and they're really just tapping into that Samsung model. So the Samsung Experience Store in the Meatpacking District opened, I guess, a couple of years ago, and they kind of set that standard, and a lot of other people are attempting to follow. The question everyone has with this ultimately is, okay, what's your ROI? So this new term, emotional ROI, has been kind of bubbling around for a while now, and it's, people are saying, well, it's not just black and white. You have to kind of think about the brand affinity that you're gaining, or, the new customers that you're gaining because they perceive your brand to be cool or creative or innovative. So lastly, within this area, malls are rethinking the real estate, and this is one of my favorites. So we have a lot of traditional malls looking for new ways to bring in these direct-to-consumer businesses, these pure-play online retailers that are really edgy and fun, that don't have a physical presence. So they're doing these rotating pop-up shops in the center of the mall to kind of offer those people a foray into brick and mortar. So Roosevelt Field Mall has just rolled theirs out. It's called The Edit. And then the Washington Prime Group is doing a similar thing called Tangible. So I think that this is going to start to be something that you just see at every mall going forward, because they're trying to increase the footfall. And then this image from Amazon, I think, is really interesting too, because we have a lot of people vying, obviously, for the new Amazon headquarters space. Everybody's kind of eagerly, awaiting like what's going to happen with that. And a lot of the cities that have put up bids for the space are putting up actual malls that have shuttered down and are deserted. So it would be kind of funny, in a way, if Amazon were to take over these spaces, because they were an entity that effectively had a role in the demise of the mall, and then they might actually be able to participate in the rebirth of it, which would just make everybody love Amazon even more. It's like they can do no wrong. Another point that we wanted to make about physical retail is that it's about right sizing, not just downsizing. Again, it's just a new way of looking at things. So there's a big difference between balancing your on and offline operations and then going completely bankrupt. So we saw a lot of stores close in 2017, but for a lot of those brands, it was the right decision to make, and it's going to make them healthy in the long run. So fewer, smaller stores kind of feeds into that smaller physical footprint that we're noticing, and Target is a really great example here. So their small format stores have actually yielded more than double the sales per square foot than those of their larger stores. And they didn't know that going in, so now they've amped it up and they plan to double the number of smaller Target stores within 3 years. So it's contributing to that kind of shrinking footprint in physical retail. And then another way that brands are taking back control of their stores is through the product. So we're increasingly see retailers turn to in-house brands. So this creates better margins for them. It gives the company more control over the product, and it really helps to align the company image with the products that they sell. So again, Target is a really great example here. They've launched a handful of in-house lines over the past year, quite a few actually, crossing athleisure, home goods, contemporary fashion, menswear, and they're really looking to recreate the success that they've had with their children's wear line. Meanwhile, Amazon, never sleep on Amazon, has kind of quietly been sourcing a private label collection of very trendy activewear leggings that will serve to really supplement the lack of designer brands that are available on their site. So definitely one to watch, because as we all know, if Amazon can't sell your brand on the site, then they'll compete in a different way and dominate the market that way. And I do think another thing that's interesting with Amazon is pay attention to the patents that they're taking out, because they are public knowledge and they're wild. They have like self-destructing drone patents, like underwater storage facility patents, but they've actually taken out an on-demand, basically fast fashion system. And they took a patent out for this last year. And if you just think of like the implications of what they're probably plotting right now, yeah, it's pretty wild. So lastly, if you can't beat them, join them. So if it's experiences that the consumer wants, then work with that. Give them experiences, facilitate these experiences. So complement the competition. The companies that are embracing this shift towards experiences are seeing this as an opportunity. So if the consumers want travel, then create goods that complement their travel. So smart luggage is a really great example of this. It's definitely championed by brands like Away, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with at this point. That's the suitcase that charges your phone. They were kind of the first to do it. But we're seeing a surge of kind of existing brands move into this space as well. So Rebecca Minkoff, who traditionally doesn't do luggage, moved into that space this past holiday. And she actually just announced that she's going to be moving into swim as well, which is another travel-related category, so I think very smart. And then on the other hand, if your customer is spending all their money on festivals instead of clothes, well, why not create a festival of your own, like Lululemon did with their Sweat Life Festival. And they were selling these tickets at about $50 a pop, and they completely sold out. So they found another, source of revenue. So lastly, in the experiential realm, you can also embrace the opportunity to create your own event and really be the experience. So this is a really highbrow example, but I think it's a great one because this is High Sobriety and Barney's event. It was as hot a ticket as most concerts would be. So this past fall, they launched an event in store that had 30 exclusive product drops. They had celebrity DJ sets. They had celebrity tattoo artists and piercing artists on hand in the store to pierce you up and tattoo you. They had a panel discussion with some of the hottest designers of the moment, and this event was packed. It was absolutely, all the merch was selling out. People were lined up around the block to attend. But more than anything, it brought a lot of footfall into the store, and it really solidified that cool factor of the brand with its audience. So definitely think about how this can be incorporated, how you can drive footfall, by promising this evolving, unexpected store experience that can't be replicated online, because this is where physical retail will really always have the advantage. So I want to switch gears a little bit with this section and talk about why retail is making all these changes. So what are these shifting consumer demands that are making us change how we operate in the first place? So we're seeing consumers desire to patron brands that have a purpose, that support a cause, that use ethical labor. We're also seeing consumers shop in this new visual language. So we're seeing people desire to shop the world around them. So that could be with a visual search tool on their smartphone, or it could just be a store that's designed to look like their home would look, like their own environment might look. And then lastly, and most importantly for the lingerie and swim world, we're seeing such a demand for transparency and truth in marketing, both in how our models look and how our businesses speak to us about how their product gets made and the impact that it has on the environment. So increasingly, the differentiator is not the product, but how and why it is made. So we're seeing 65% of consumers globally say they try to support brands that are purposeful. And this is from an Edelman survey. They also found that 57% of consumers are likely to buy from or boycott a brand because of its stance on a social or political issue. So this is only growing. There are also 30% 30% more likely to make purchase decisions about a brand based on the brand's beliefs than they were just 3 years ago. So this is a steady trend that we're noticing. So how can you convey this to your consumer? You can make your stance on ethical labor known. So on a very basic level, there's this narrative emerging where retailers and brands are highlighting the conditions of their factories, and it's not just to prove their commitment to sustainability, but it's also to show that they ensure that their factory is a friendly place for people to work. Unfortunately, some of this may just be branding for some brands, and we do have to be wary of that. But these kind of peeks behind the curtain really help that value-conscious consumer feel better about their purchase. Reformation is probably one of the best examples here, and they really make sure that you know that they care about their employees in their LA factory. So it's not just fair pay. They have massages for their employees, they have healthy meals, lots of time to relax, and they actually even offer weekly English as second language courses to their factory workers, which I think is pretty amazing. I'm just going to show you this little video clip.
Soy Nubia y soy originaria de El Salvador. Mi madre vive acá hace muchos años y a través de una petición de mi madre vine a este país. El tiempo no ha sido fácil porque estoy adaptándome a una nueva cultura, un nuevo idioma, poco a poco avanzando. Ya le puedo decir a la gente, I'm learning English, please speak slowly. Y ya como que empiezan a hablar más despacio para que pueda entender un poco más y para que es más fácil cuando hablan despacio.
I just thought that was really sweet. And that's right from their Instagram. So Reformation really wants you to know that that's who they are. It's part of their brand DNA. Also, purchase with purpose. So new businesses are emerging to service this very value-driven customer. And this is the front page of a new e-commerce site called Olivela. It supports charitable causes while you shop. So they don't sell anything of their own, but they've partnered with these 4 major charities for children to funnel a portion of your luxury purchase to a child in need. And the really cool thing is that it tells you in very concrete terms what that advantage will be. So for example, if you buy this Tanya Taylor dress for $525, you provide 14 days of school to a Syrian refugee child. It also allows you to shop by charity of your choice, and it offers you a personalized dashboard that tracks the total impact of your own purchase. So you can feel like a very good person while you're spending thousands of dollars on luxury goods. We're also looking at brands that facilitate consumer action. So successful brands are really helping people find their voices. And this is a really cool example. This is a Standard Hotel in New York, and they've unveiled a Ring Your Rep phone booth. So guests, staff, the public, anybody really walking by can contact their representative and voice their positions on very important issues. The hotel even installed these scripts that you can use to get your message across. And in addition to this, they plan to roll out a direct dial feature on all their room phones, going forward across all of their hotels for this exact reason. So activism at its finest. And we also want to facilitate consumer wellness. So Lululemon, which is known for offering workout classes in its stores, as a lot of athleisure brands do currently, it's moving further into the wellness arena with a new space called Mind Philosophy, and it offers visitors a place to meditate inside the store. So you can find this in their New York City store, the one near Rockefeller Center, and out in the Williamsburg location as well. So this space has these little Zen pods, which is just a fancy name for comfortable seats, where you can sit down, put on a pair of headphones, and be guided through a calming meditation. So Browns, the UK retailer, is also doing something similar in their London Shoreditch store. So it's kind of interesting to see this shift from yoga into meditation on the wellness front. So on a consumer perspective, we've seen studies that show that yoga practice amongst US workers nearly doubled from 2002 to 2012. It went from 6 to 11%. And now we're starting to see those same type of increases in meditation. It's micro still, but we believe that this is going to be the next movement. And it's kind of easy to say that it might not have the same potential revenue as yoga, because you don't really need to buy yoga pants to meditate. You don't really need anything to meditate except for yourself. But there's so many guided meditation studios popping up in New York City right now. It's crazy. So it's kind of almost more posh to be posting this on your Instagram at the moment than to be posting about brunch. It's becoming like the new brunch. So this idea of facilitating wellness, also, it doesn't have to be about meditation. It could be about skincare. It could be about scents that calm you down. The things that you put in and on your body really count in this space as well. And to that effect, we have this brand, skincare brand Nom Organics, and they're out of the UK. They began offering a series of well-being schools in their stores last summer. So in the well-being school, you receive a 30-minute consultation with a pneumologist, which is what they call their employees. And they use a scent discovery test to find out the underlying well-being need, and then guide you through steps that can make a difference in your well-being, such as getting better sleep or helping you de-stress. So all sorts of different ways to kind of tie this trend into your brand. And then I think this is a really interesting example as well. So Done Good is a company that's looking to disrupt the way we shop online and really keep in line with the values that consumers are increasingly saying matter to them. So it operates as a website and a blog, but mainly its function is a Chrome extension that you can tap onto your browser, and it lets you know during your shopping journey if it's something maybe you don't want to support, or if it's something that you do want to support and they have Done Good approved. So if it's a company that's eco-friendly or charitable, or there's a whole long list of things, they will let you know, and they'll also give you a whole pop-up of what they do. So if you see something that you don't like, and it's a cause maybe you don't want to support, they also offer alternative brands and products from Done Good approved stores. So it's kind of an interesting way to promote your business's stance, either way, to the consumer without you really having to advertise. So next I want to touch upon the new visual language trend that is changing the way that consumers shop, both on and offline. And here I'll be talking about new shopping environments and also the technology that's allowing us to kind of shop the world around us seamlessly. So the set of examples deals with tangible, in real life experiences. So this is purely from a merchandising point of view. We're seeing this new store take shape, so it's kind of a hybrid of home and shop. So the spaces are set up to look exactly like a very posh apartment, and people are encouraged to shop and interact with the products. So this is from the Goop Lab in Los Angeles' Brentwood neighborhood. And it's a fully realized online world of Goop and its founder, Gwyneth Paltrow. So fans of the website or of the actress can shop Paltrow's bathroom, her bedroom, etc., and just feel like they're actually reading her closet. And this concept was really championed by The Apartment by the Line, which is in New York currently. They did this concept a few years ago, and at the time it was appointment only. But basically, it feels as if you're walking into someone's Soho apartment and you could just buy whatever you want. So it's kind of like a staged estate sale, in a way. So we're also seeing this concept move beyond the storefront and into even more innovative territory. So we're now seeing retail restaurants popping up. La Mercerie in Soho just opened in December, and it's a really great example. So you can order a dish, or you can actually order your dish that you're eating off of. Everything in the restaurant is for sale. And it's attached to Roman and Williams Guild. And it's a very interesting, experiential, immersive concept. So you could, there's a lot of florists pop up in there as well. And the food's great, so they're really just kind of creating this whole new thing that's being dubbed restaurant retail. So over in Melbourne, we have this great example of an Airbnb that operates as a live-in boutique as well. So you can rent out the room and stay over, but also purchase anything you like when you leave. So this really opens up opportunities for cross-category collaborations between brands, and even on an entrepreneurial level, the possibilities are endless. So if you could think of this is almost the next wave of Etsy. Somebody has a really quaint Airbnb that they rent out, and then you're able to purchase all the arts and crafts lining the walls after you leave. I could really see this being an entrepreneurial endeavor for a lot of people. So in that same vein, but on a much grander scale, we're seeing the evolution of retail hotels, and this is only beginning to scrape the surface of what's possible here. So West Elm already announced that their retail hotels, where everything in the room can be purchased via their catalog, will open in 2018 across select cities in the US. I think they are building about 6 hotels at the moment. And then over in Detroit, the local brand Shinola, which has exploded over the past few years, will be opening their version of this concept in the fall in Detroit. So I think, again, this is a major opportunity for collaborations. Consumers really love to kind of test out the products on their own time. So inevitably, we're going to see brands outside of the kind of usual spectrum of bath and body products really vying for space in these retail hotels. It could be a plush bathrobe or some really luxe slippers. And we're even seeing coats get into the game. And this is something I thought was really interesting. We got an email blast about this about 2 months ago. Canada Goose was offering outerwear rentals of their down jackets at hotels in Minneapolis during Super Bowl week, which I thought was really cool, right? So just, think about the possibilities here. We're kind of creating a culture for this jet-setting consumer where they don't have to remember to pack anything anymore, or if it doesn't fit, they can just rent it from the hotel when they get there. We're seeing vending machines pop up in lobbies. You can put a swimsuit in a vending machine in a hotel. So I feel like there's just a lot of ideas here that are just waiting to happen. So what if you want to shop the world around you when you're not in a store or a restaurant or a hotel or an Airbnb, like if you're just walking down the street or you're browsing your Instagram feed? So that's really where visual search technology comes into play. So just an interesting anecdote here. They did a Mintel survey not too long ago, and it said that 74% of consumers' text searches are inefficient in connecting people with the right products. So the average shopper abandons a product search after about 1 minute and 30 seconds. And only about 3.4% of consumers can find the product that they're looking for in under 6 minutes. So there's obviously a lot of room for improvement here, and visual discovery is positioned to be the solution to that. So we're seeing everybody jump on this bandwagon, from ASOS on this side to eBay over there. And the methodology is really pretty similar across the board. So it allows you to take a photo of someone on the street, upload a picture from your phone, screenshot an Instagram feed, you get the idea, really any photo. Then through the image recognition technology, which is machine learning, it is AI, you can upload the image and the machine will search for an item that looks similar to yours from their product assortment. So we're seeing this technology adopted by companies outside of traditional retail as well. So at Shop Talk Europe, the president of Pinterest said that the future of discovery will be highly visual. He also said that he wants Pinterest to do for visual discovery what Google did for search. And he expects that visual discovery tools eventually will be embedded in all browsers and applications. So Pinterest has unveiled a number of initiatives in this space. The Pinterest Lens, which is one of its discovery tools, has already been integrated into the camera of the new Samsung S8 smartphone and has been incorporated into Target's online registry experience. Samsung, which this is their personal app on the right, is also using a visual search tool called Bixby Vision, and it's connected to its own native camera app. So it allows shoppers to discover products by taking pictures of things around them, and the cool thing is that it's not just limited to fashion. So you could take a picture of a building and it'll go to its Wikipedia page. So it's really the entire world is just becoming searchable. So lastly, for consumer priorities, the industry, is calling this transparency, but it's really just consumers wanting to see and hear the truth from a brand. So they want realness, they want to see themselves reflected in the advertising, and they want to hear how your business is making goods in a responsible way, and if possible, a way that saves them money. by cutting out the middleman, as we see a lot of these direct-to-consumer brands doing right now. So champion body positivity is a big part of this. This movement is in full swing. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the opportunities within the lingerie market in particular. We're seeing a defined aesthetic really come through from a lot of these independent brands that rely really heavily on visual marketing via their social media channels. And it conveys their brand aspirations as well as their product and the overall kind of lifestyle. So we have brands like Lonely Lingerie, Hot as Hell, Base Layer, Hara. These are kind of like indie darlings in the space that are answering that consumer demand for more inclusive, positive, and truthful depictions of women's bodies. But the big question is this translating into money, right? So let's be real, trends are nice, but if they don't positively affect your bottom line, then that's all they are, they're just nice. So the good news is we're seeing real, tangible gains for companies embracing body positivity. It's definitely not too late to jump on this bandwagon. It's a trend that still has plenty of legs and potentially becoming just the new norm from here on out. Thus, inclusivity equals earnings. So I'm sure everybody in this room is familiar with Aerie and the impact that it's had on the industry. So it's kind of incredible that in this apocalyptic retail landscape, we see this shining beacon that is Aerie and its parent brand American Eagle. It's largely due to the popularity of these campaigns where Photoshop has been eliminated from the models. So yes, the body positivity movement is making people money and saving businesses in a tough market. I'd also like to call out Chromat as another great example. So they announced in February, just a few weeks ago, that Nordstrom will be placing a game-changing order of swimwear from the brand. So they're extending the order up to size XXL. So this is the first time a department store has ever ordered above a size large from Chromat, which is kind of insane to hear. And according to the brand itself, will change the entire dynamic of how they do plus size business altogether. So this is the first time that they've really had a retail order for their plus size range in this volume. So Nordstrom is essentially setting the stage for mass adoption for other department stores and boutiques of plus size swim, and if all goes well, they could be creating quite the trend. So this is just a fun one to throw in here for body positivity and how it is conveyed in store. So these mannequins are from a UK retailer, Missguided. It's a young fast fashion line, and I don't know if you can see it, but the image here on the right, she has stretch marks on her chest. And this girl has vitiligo. They have mannequins donning hijabs. They have mannequins covered in freckles, and they just really are taking this inclusivity movement even further into their stores. And this is really, the stretch marks in particular are kind of falling off of their, I think it was show your marks, bear your marks, but it was a really popular hashtag for their social media campaign. So they've taken it a little bit further. So this is a topic that I generally would shy away from in a retail presentation, but for an intimates audience, I think it's worth touching upon. So we're already seeing this new wave of feminism kind of sweep through our consumer demographic, empowering ideas of self-care. That's such a big buzzword at the moment, especially in the beauty industry. But along with that, we're seeing a new emphasis on self-love. So we're seeing typically taboo areas like internet porn and sex toys are increasingly entering the mainstream. So this is Pornhub's pop-up that they had in Soho this past fall, and it had branded merch and adult toy collaborations and adult coloring books, but it was in this really cheery, Instagram-friendly store, and it was very buzzy and fun. And then this image on the right here is women lined up around the block last summer for adult toy brand Octopus's activation, where they gave away free product, and they offered consultations with a sex therapist as well. So on a commercial level, I do think this is important to note. I was in Austin last week doing some retail research, and I walked into a new store called Teddy's for Betty's. It's a very high-end lingerie store, and they also sold a select, very tasteful section of adult toys, which I found kind of interesting. So the taboos around these types of things are really beginning to lessen. So what could that look like in the future for cross-merchandising within lingerie assortments? So lastly, take care of yourself, take care of the earth. So within the shifting consumer demand for transparency, we're not only looking at self-care and body positivity, we're also looking outward and looking at how companies treat the earth as well. So the intimate sector is actually a really exciting area for sustainability. In fact, our lingerie editors in London just released a report not too long ago covering the top 8 hot sustainable lingerie brands of the moment. So it ranged from this Oakland-based brand called Pansy to this Bali-based brand called Hara. And you're gonna kind of notice a commonality in all of these eco lingerie brands. A couple of them are ones that I mentioned before that really champion that body positivity movement. So they generally have a kind of relaxed look with less reliance on padding and underwear and thongs. So it's underwear for women, by women, and the marketing really reflects that lifestyle as well. So among these brands, a few things that they're doing, they're using natural rubber and cotton elastic. They're using fiber-reactive dyes, fibers that are organically grown, use of natural materials like bamboo, which can be grown with 0 pesticides and minimal water. And additionally, many of the brands use no plastic in their production or packaging. So beyond sustainable materials, we're starting to see a new emphasis on the circular economy, and this is both as a business model and also a sustainability initiative. And I think this is a really important shift because the focus on eco and green sustainability in the past has largely been an effort of greenwashing. So a company will release a eco-friendly capsule collection once a year, it gets a lot of press, a lot of buzz, and that's it, and that's all they're really doing. So we're actually starting to see this shift into brands that are building recycling into the DNA of who they are. So Koyuchi is a really great example for this. So they figured out what to do with products once the initial customer is finished using them. So it's a linens company, and they've developed this program called Koyuchi for Life, and it allows customers to receive new organic towels, sheets, duvets every couple of years for a fixed monthly fee. So for instance, if you wanted to replace your duvet every 2 years, you basically pay about $8 a month, and then at the end of that period, you trade your old set in for a new one. But really the most interesting part of the program is what happens to the sheets once they're returned. So they're cleaned and they're repaired using a very sustainable process, of course, and then they're resold at a fraction of the original price. So these products are particularly popular with hotels, with people who rent out their Airbnb properties, because it allows them to give their guests high-end sheets, but at a much lower price. So the idea is to really bake the recycling into the process from the beginning. And then on the right here, we have kind of a similar concept from Mud Jeans, and this is a denim company, a Dutch denim company, and they offer a jeans leasing service. So for a €20 setup fee, you can rent your jeans for about €7 a month, working out to about €90 a year. And at the end of that 12-month period, you get a new pair of jeans. The old ones are shredded and mixed back with new organic cotton. So again, recycling is built right into the life of the garment. So I think this IKEA example is really interesting because we had the head of their sustainability come and talk to our office in London last year for our Trends Day, which is where we all internally get together. And their head of sustainability said that this is something they've been trying to figure out for a while. So her example was this Actor sofa, right, that they sell for £350. There's all these other websites online that offer products related to this, like slip covers and extra arm covers that are operating where IKEA doesn't see any of that profit. So their internal conflict is how do they fight that? How do they take some of that money back from the other people, because it's not illegal in any way. So what they did is they're looking at how it can create more transactions per item. So what would the business look like if a customer were to buy new arms when the old ones got worn, or a new cover? And then she went on to say, you know, what if your family grows? How can they extend the sofa? So suddenly now there's 5 or 6 transactions that can take place around one sofa. So that is what makes that sofa 3 times more valuable to IKEA's core business than it is today. And it's also a sustainable model for them. And lastly, in the sustainability conversation, I want to talk about re-commerce because it's such a growth market at the moment. Unfortunately, we're still seeing about 85% of our clothing go into landfill at the end of the year. So I think people are educated about this and it's kind of reaching this point of critical mass. So luckily there's this very strong movement to extend the life of clothing, and that is basically what's stemming this resale boom. So this is beyond your usual thrift store or your consignment store. We're starting to see apps like Depop, which is where these images are from, making resale very cool. So it's a marketplace that's kind of mixed between eBay and Instagram. It's a very visual feed. And this company is amazing. They're growing super quickly. It has 8 million users at the moment, and they sell something every 4 seconds. So it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And there's this emerging young consumer who's really keen on having this new relationship with the products that they own. So the total re-commerce market is expected to grow from 18 billion back in 2016 to 33 billion in 2021. So for millennials, we know it's about see now, rent now. Increasingly, ownership is just another burden that they have to bear in their life. So this generation of shoppers has a really healthy appetite for renting products. So 90% of consumers aged 25 to 34 say they always or sometimes borrow things instead of buying them, according to a study by Mintel. So this is just the beginning. Economists at the 2017 World Economic Forum predicted that by 2030, millennials won't own anything anymore, which I find crazy. That just seems a bit too drastic, but it was said, and it's definitely something to think about. So we could definitely cite numerous factors for the consumer demand for rented apparel. So there's the sustainability element, which is great, the rise of the creative class and the need to work remotely and travel more, which means packing light, but arguably the biggest driver for renting and shared ownership is the soaring housing costs, co-living, not enough space for their belonging, and shoppers feel like they have just reached peak stuff. And with that, I thank you. That's my Instagram if anybody wants to follow it. I cover a lot of retail stuff. Yeah, so I guess I could open the floor to questions, or if you guys would prefer to come up to me afterwards. I'm going to stick around for a little bit.
I have a question. You were mentioning your retail research.
Yeah.
Talk about trends and demographic changes, experience changes. How do you see the role of purchasing power now, especially with the dynamic shift that you see?
How do I see the role of
Purchasing power
Yeah.
for the consumer.
Yeah, so the purchasing power, I mean, it's definitely shifting. We are focusing a lot on millennials, and that's something we actually did a panel at a trade show not too long ago, and we got called out. They're like, why is everyone so obsessed with millennials? And it's like, well, because they're, on track to have this incredible amount of purchasing power. But within our business, we are very aware that not to forget about other markets. So we do devote a lot of our insight section on the site to boomers, to incoming alphas, to Gen Z and everything, because Gen Z is going to have quite a bit of purchasing power as well. And the scary thing about them is that they're very discerning and they hate being marketed to. So it's going to be a whole new, landscape when they come in. I think that people are going to wish that they still had millennials around once Gen Z comes into the marketplace, because they're savvy, they're super smart, and at this point, I mean, we had a focus group and it was all Gen Z, so these were basically children. And in the video, they were smarter than half the adults that I know, and it was just amazing to hear that. So yeah, I think it's just gonna get trickier, but currently millennials really have that purchasing power on lock. Yeah.
You're closing and opening stores. Do you have it scaled down to lingerie stores, specialty lingerie stores?
I don't. Although those stats were specifically for specialty apparel retailers. So that was excluding, other types of retail outside of the sector, but I don't have it scaled down for lingerie.
How would you describe loyalty? How has it changed over the years? Where before you love the brand, you buy it, now you hear that people want to invest in the brand. Does that mean that they're a loyal customer then, or they need to prove it each time?
Yeah, I think that loyalty is something that's really coming back into the conversation as people are tiring with fast fashion. They're looking for something that's durable and long-lasting, something that they can have a long-term relationship with. So we're starting to see loyalty programs come back. And then I also think that, things like aftercare and mending services are things that are building loyalty from your client base, because they know that they can depend on you to, help them out with their product lifetime guarantee. A lot of companies are offering, such as your, Patagonias and things like that. But even outside of that traditional space, we're seeing a lot of people grab onto that lifetime guarantee, the mending, all that kind of stuff, and that's really to build loyalty.
You mentioned political viewpoints and how companies are either sharing them with new customers or possibly being boycotted because of them.
Yeah.
Given how divided our nation is at this point, do you feel that is a wise move by companies, or do you feel it to be more wise to keep their political interests to themselves?
Honestly, I don't think it's wise for certain companies. I think that certain companies are too big and their consumer is too divided to take that risk. But Patagonia is another really good example there, because they did take that risk. They were very, very vocal politically. And I think that they did that because they felt that their consumer aligned with the values that they were projecting. So I think it's just really tricky. Like, you have to really be confident that the majority of your consumer base is going to agree with you. Otherwise, I would kind of keep quiet. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
When you meet with retailers, what do you see as their receptive? How receptive are they to your recommendations? How much of an urgency do they see to this?
It really depends. And we also have a big array of types of clients. So we work with people from fast fashion to big box retailers. So we have a lot of the more traditional retailers that come in, and they're just very aware of who they are and where they stand within the business. So they know that they're reactive, they're not innovators. So when you get to talk to clients like that, it's great because you're on the same page. It can be tough if you're talking to a client who thinks that they're an innovator, but they're actually a reactor. That's where, the transfer of information can get a little bit sticky. But yeah, I think everyone's very receptive. Obviously, fast fashion is moving at a very rapid pace. But then we have more traditional accounts that are looking at our 2-year forecast as a 4-year forecast. And then we have accounts that are looking at our 2-year forecast as like a 6-month forecast. So, just depends. Yeah.
Is there a trend going back to smaller stores?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Small both in footprint and also in, locally owned independent.
So these are the new mom and pop stores?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a feel for that. I think that people are tiring of, the traditional retail environment. They want something that they can feel connected to. So I think that, kind of that emotional ROI that I was talking about before, they just want that like emotional attachment to a store.
Which group has more money?
Which group?
Right, you talk about Generation Z and millennials and so forth.
Yeah. So the millennials are on track to have the majority spent.
They
Yeah.
have the money to buy.
Yeah, and that's why everybody is just kind of making such a fuss about them, because, it's legitimate.
How important is promotionality for the consumer?
Promotional pricing. So, that's a really tricky one, because I think that we've trained the consumer to never buy anything full price. We've seen a lot of traditional kind of department store models playing around with that because they're losing money. But I won't name names, but I'm thinking a very prime example. About 2 years ago, they decided to do away with promotional pricing altogether and just go, okay, this is the absolute lowest price and we're not gonna beat around the bush. And that ended up being like the worst strategy ever for them, and then they went back to promotional pricing. so people like to feel like they're getting a deal. So I think that did serve as a really great case study for everyone else who was kind of wondering if that would be a good idea. Now we know. Yeah.
As far as your retail research, how do you see the trends, especially the millennials, on cross-selling, upselling, and especially helping the top line as well as the bottom line profits?
I mean, cross-selling as in cross-category, cross-merchandising, I think that's a really big, important push. So every store that I've been walking into, because I travel a lot for retail research, we go to a new regional destination about once a month, and stores increasingly are following this lifestyle merchandising model, where you can't just sell clothes anymore. You have to sell clothes and candles and books and shoes and third-party brands and sneakers and denim, and so I think it's all about that mix, really, because people have a short attention span, I think, and you need to give them that experience in store. Yeah.
When you say that millennials are on track to be the largest spending category, when do you see that? They're 40% of the market right now, right? But they know a lot of money. And from what I hear, that baby boomers are the only category that's growing in spending right now. When are the millennials supposed to have that problem?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with millennials. The actual range of being a millennial is so varied. So you have a couple, like the younger generation of millennials that are just starting to get into the primes of their careers. So I think once that kicks in, that's when it's really going to punch in. Because when you have like the top end of the age bracket for millennials now, those are people that are in their careers and have that money to spend. So I think it's when the younger tier starts to mature and really enter the career market.
What's the current age of millennials?
It's 81 to 95. I would have to double check that, but it's around that range. It's a big range. Oh, that's the birth years. It's about 81 to 95. I'd have to double check that. But it is a wide range. So it's funny to say, and like now they're starting to do dissections of the millennial cross, where they have different names for different types of millennial depending on what cusp you're on, because your values are different. But it is true because, you know, I don't have the same values as somebody 10 years younger than me. So there's a lot of market breakdowns within the millennial also.
Would you be willing to share this presentation?
I will have to talk to the account managers. I'm not sure that I can. I know it is being recorded though, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The group that are moving into Lord & Taylor, taking over, I think it's called
We work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that a trend that you see happen?
Absolutely. They're taking over the world. I mean, it's like Amazon and then WeWork. So it's a co-working space, and I think that's, you know, has a lot to do with the shift of people being able to work remotely. You know, so much of our job market is could be done on a computer, and you could really work from anywhere that has internet. So it's just people, you know, wanting to have a community. So these people that were traditionally working from home now have an environment where they have a water cooler and they have, you know, drinks after work, and they have a community of people. So I see that just becoming more and more popular.
But are you losing the essence of the quality of the work to take over?
So they are shrinking the footprint of Lord & Taylor, I think, by about 7 or 8 floors. So it's going to be interesting to see how they consolidate.
This morning, women's was at 3 floors.
They were supposed to be taking only the bottom 2 for Lord & Taylor.
This morning, women's was
Have they switched it up?
3 floors. We're going to end up with only 3 floors in Lord & Taylor.
Okay, 3 now. Yeah, initially it was 2, so I guess that they realized 2 was going to be quite a crunch. I think that they're looking to target the millennial customer. I think that the floors that they're probably going to end up losing are going to be the niche floors, the petite, the plus, the Missy. So unfortunately, I don't know if that's the best move, because that's a really strong market for that Lord & Taylor flagship. So time will tell. I'll stick around if anyone has questions for me in person.